welcome to We Watch Bad Films, the podcast where we watch bad films so you don't have to. We've got all your socials covered. We're on Twitter at We Watch Bad Films. We're on Instagram at We Watch Bad Films. And if you'd like to, we'd welcome donations over at Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com/WWBF pod, like some others that have kindly donated. Thank you so much. That enables us to get more rentals so we can watch even more terrible films. I'm Gary, and with me today is Jay.
Hello, everybody.
Jay, we've watched quite a lot of bad films together, would you not agree?
I would definitely agree, Gary, yes.
Among the properties of a bad film, we've often said the worst crime a film can commit is being boring, and we've had our fair share of those, but sometimes the directing is bad, the acting is bad. But what's the worst piece of actual dialogue you can recall? And it doesn't have to be in a film we've watched. It could be just, something from your memory.
I'm interested in bad bits of dialogue in good films as well as bad bits of dialogue in bad films, because obviously that's much more common. But I was watching the Blade trilogy recently. Have you watched that at any point in the last few years?
I definitely watched the original when it first came out. I can't recall watching the sequels.
I always liked the Blade films, and I thought, I'm going to watch them. I like the Blade trilogy. I think they're good, and also I think Wesley Snipes has sort of been forgotten a little bit in all the MCU bonanza. He was the first Marvel. He was the first Marvel character in a Marvel associated film where Marvel actually had a say in what the studio were making. I can't remember which actual studio it was, but I thought it was good. It's quite of its time.
Let's also say Wesley Snipes was forgotten because he went to prison for a few years.
I didn't know that.
He tax evasion.
Right. Well,
and he went to prison for 2.5 years.
Oh dear. Well,
so
Blade,
studios aren't falling over themselves to work with him just yet.
He's an anti-hero, much like Blade. I like the Blade films. They're a bit of their time. I mean, Blade 2 is pretty good. Guillermo del Toro directed it. But I was watching the first Blade film, and in it, I don't know if anyone remembers Blade, but the character is a bit like Batman. He's gruff. He's almost monosyllabic. He's pretty laconic. But all of a sudden, about halfway through, he appears to rescue the woman who he's gotten involved with, and the police turn up because they think he is a criminal, and they start shooting at him, and he turns around to the camera, bearing in mind he's a very gruff, monosyllabic, dark, vampiric character. He says at the top of his voice, "Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?" And it's so bizarre. It comes out of nowhere. And every time I see it, it completely takes me out of the film, and I just think, what? How did that get through? So that's one that really stuck in my mind recently. But obviously there are some stinkers. I mean, I think we got one of the worst ones that I've ever heard in one of the episodes that we did, which was Shark Attack 3.
Oh, you're going to quote John Barrowman, aren't you?
I mean, I could not believe that line.
What did he say?
Oh, you can't make me say it, Gary. Surely.
Well, that's because right here, I'm going to insert a clip of the last time we talked about it. Right here.
What do you say I take you home and eat your pussy?
There you go, and apparently he wasn't supposed, well, not that he wasn't supposed to say that line. It wasn't scripted, and he didn't think the dialogue was going to be heard or be looped over. And they left it in the film. I think he was, quite shocked that it was left in the final cut.
I've got one here. We've never watched this film together. I don't even think you've actually seen it, but we have discussed it. The Room, starring Tommy Wiseau. We've never watched it. Maybe one day we will do an episode on it. But one of the best lines, or one of the worst lines,
on our 1000th episode. Let's watch it then.
Yeah. Okay. Is Tommy Wiseau. You don't need to know what his character's saying. It's a load of old rubbish. But he comes into the scene and he says, "I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark."
Yeah. The Oh Hi Mark is a particular highlight.
I remember watching that. I mean, I have seen the Room a long time ago, but I mean, I first watched that, I just thought it sort of blew my mind as to how bad films could be. But I mean, there's loads of big films with terrible dialogue. What about
You had me at hello.
in Jerry Maguire? What a load of crap! Terrible.
I don't know. I'd stick up for that line. I think it's okay in context. I think if you pull it out, it looks pretty bad. But I think in the context of the scene, it looks all right. But if you're talking about big films, there are a few bigger than one we've gone to before, and I bring up all the time, which is
So love has blinded you.
spoken by Padme in Revenge of the Sith.
It's pretty bad. I mean, are there any really bad lines in the original trilogy that stick out for you, Gary?
I mean, that's really difficult because often the delivery of some of the officers is a bit odd to the point where it's wrapped around back into good again. So I'm thinking of Empire Strikes Back.
Good. Our first catch of the day.
It's a strange delivery. The line's okay, but George Lucas famous for having weird dialogue, heavily proper-nouned. As Harrison Ford said, "You can type this shit, George, but you can't say it." I tell you what, so there was a line in a film I watched when I was at the cinema with a few friends, and it was a line where, in a quite tense, atmospheric, sci-fi thriller type film, we all looked at each other and killed ourselves laughing, which is Ridley Scott's Alien Covenant. The android character says, "Shall I show you the fingering?" He's talking about how to play a musical instrument, but just the line is an odd read. It's so like, no, it's not right.
Oh, Alien Covenant. Maybe we should discuss this at one point, but my God, the most recent Alien films, forget Alien versus Predator, I don't even count them. I don't even want to watch them. But Prometheus and Alien Covenant, what a disappointment! What are you doing, Ridley? What are you doing?
Yeah, I think we park those. I think we should actually do an episode of both of them in the future. Going back to Star Wars for a minute, how about this little beauty from the most recent entry in the Star Wars film canon?
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Think of all the heavy lifting that the word somehow is doing in that sentence. Somehow, the big bad from the previous 6 films has just come back, and we just couldn't be asked to tell you about it.
All you need after that is dun 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 sound effect.
Okay. No, you don't. You need more than that. You don't need dun dun dun. You want actually 3 whole films of exposition of how Palpatine returned, not just baddie. Here it goes.
Okay, what about this from Four Weddings and a Funeral?
Is it still raining? I hadn't noticed.
I've just heaved a bit. Oh no, I've forgotten about that.
Rubbish, isn't she? What's her name?
And I'll be honest, it's so bad. I say that line quite often. Is it raining? I hadn't noticed. I hate Andy McDowell in that film. I really love the film. I think Hugh Grant is fantastic, and there are heaps of great comic performances. It's bloody Brigadoon, but Andy McDowell is vapid.
Well, she's awful. I was trying to remember her name. Was it like? I knew it was a man's name, Barry Stevens or something. Andy McDowell. That's it. She is awful. She ruins that film. It's a great film, but that line is just. I think it'd be quite difficult for anyone to say it, but she absolutely buries it. Okay, what about this from X-Men?
You know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Gary, you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning, don't you? You really know.
Dies generally, I imagine.
The same thing that happens to everything else. I mean, yeah, absolute dross. And I really like X-Men. I mean, there are some stinkers in the X-Men films, but generally speaking, they're pretty good.
Yeah, it's a spotty series, but we should do The Last Stand one day, which is an absolute travesty. Jay, have you got something with equally bad dialogue in we can watch today?
I think I've decided that we should get this particular film out of the way. It's haunting me. And also, as you and I are closet WWE fans, particularly for me, the early 90s, late 80s classic Federation period, I think you and I should watch Abraxas, Guardian of the Universe, starring Jesse Ventura.
Oh, well, two thoughts there. Firstly, I thought for sure you were going to lump us with a Hulk Hogan movie, so there's disaster one averted. Abraxas, I think I've cleaned my sink with that lately.
Very good, Gary. New improved Abraxas also guards your universe.
I thought you were going to say uterus then.
Guardian of the uterus. Well, I mean, Jesse Ventura has actually been in some good films, and he's actually been okay in them, whereas Hulk Hogan has never been in a good film and has always been rubbish. So maybe this isn't going to be that bad.
It could be. Could be. There's only one way to find out. You guys out there, you go listen to the trailer for it, and we'll come back.
Hello. I suppose you're not tired. Do you want to sit up here with me? I'll tell you a story. It's about two men. We're partners. I need your buddy.
Secundus and I went back a long way. We pulled each other through a lot of hard times. It's over. I know you. You can't do that.
But one of the men began to grow unhappy. Soon, the only thing that mattered to him was himself.
Weren't Abraxas and Secundus partners? Ancient history height.
Now they're sending me out to bring in Secundus, my ex-partner. Not this time.
Commander escaped.
Well, Jay, you just made us watch Abraxas, and that might be one of the worst things we've ever watched.
Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad. It was so bad. Oh my God. We haven't had a really, really bad one in a while. So I suppose
we bottled it up.
Yeah. I mean, basically what we're doing here is sort of an audio and visual Russian roulette, really, isn't it? Because every now and again...
I wish I'd taken the bullet, to be honest.
Every now and again, we get a live one. Oh dear.
Shall I try and summarize? So, there are two aliens sent to Earth, Abraxas and Secundus. Secundus bumps into a woman and impregnates her with his hand on the chest. Nothing creepy. The baby will be born with the anti-life equation. Then she gets away. Cut to 5 years later, the boy has grown up a bit. He can't speak, and Secundus is going to use the boy to do something. Abraxas is going to chase him down and stop him. Then you can go and watch the Terminator to fill in the rest of the blanks, because that's the story they do. There's a big fight at the end. Secundus is defeated. Abraxas sort of has an awkward romance with the mother of the child. Oh, and I've run out of energy to summarise any more of it. It's just not good. Oh. Did I miss
so
anything of
trying-
interest in there?
I was trying not to laugh during that. What this film is utter guff. It made no sense. It was completely boring, and it made me angry.
Yeah.
It's just so bad. The acting is terrible. Scratch what I said about Jesse Ventura at the beginning of this program. He in this is absolutely awful.
If I think back to his character in Predator, Jesse Ventura in Predator, he's got some absolutely iconic lines in cinema. You know, classically, "I ain't got time to bleed," and "This stuff will make you a sexual tyrannosaur." And he's just quite charismatic.
Yeah.
And in this film, he is not.
I mean, he is wrestling with absolutely crap dialogue and a nonsensical plot, but really, it's calamitous. And in fact, everyone in this is really bad. And when we were watching it, we decided that the best actors were like the extras who had about 2 lines, right?
Yeah, and it turns out one of them was the producer for the film, so he obviously gave himself a job.
This film is written and directed by, what's his name? Damian Lee.
Damian Lee.
Yeah. Okay. Forever, his name will go down in the annals of shame because this film is terrible. Right from the start, I said to you in the first 10 seconds, I said, I already don't know what's going on, Gary. Do you know? Did you remember me saying that?
Yeah. And actually, when you look at it, the plot isn't difficult, but they do their best to try and obfuscate it in dry ice and bright lights.
Right. Well, I'm going to get to ripping the crap out of the plot in a minute. But when they first started, there were a couple of characters who were speaking, and I could discern a slightly Canadian accent. They were saying "a bolt" a lot, and I said to you, Gary, I reckon, look it up. Where is this filmed? I reckon it's in Canada, and yeah, it's all in Canada. But little did I realize, because you look at the poster for this film and also the name, Guardian of the Universe, I thought it was going to be a sci-fi, futuristic fantasy film. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting an hour and a half farting around a Canadian village in the snow. It was cheap. It was so boring. They didn't go anywhere.
Not even a good set piece or a good set or even a good scene in there to really help tickle you along. So we've got Jesse Ventura, and he's had to shave his moustache off for the part, and maybe that's where his acting talents lie. So you lose the moustache, you lose the Jesse, you lose the body. I don't know. Weirdly, acting opposite him, Sven-Ole Thorsen, who was strong, won the World's Strongest Man in, I think, 1983, and does pop up in quite a lot of films as well. I think he's okay. I don't think you agreed, but you know, considering he's doing the big bad man shtick, I thought he was doing all right.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely shit. I thought he was shit. I thought Jesse Ventura was shit. I thought everyone was absolutely shit. I'm just looking at the cast list now, Gary. Dar.
Yes.
I don't know who Dar was. I imagine he was one of
he was Art Garfunkel.
Oh my God. You'll have to explain what that means in a second, but he's played by Damian Lee.
Yeah, gave himself a plum roll, didn't he? Yeah, so when the only set that they built that I could tell was a little base where the aliens came from. And when I say aliens, by the way, just human-looking guys. There's no like extra tentacles or slime or anything. Their sort of HQ, their base, which looks an awful lot like the Rebels' base on Hoth in Empire Strikes Back, complete with perspex screens and bleepy bloopy computers. There are 2 aliens permanently in this base issuing commands. One of them is Damien Lear's Dart, or Art Garfunkel, as I started calling him, and another one. So yeah, this was about the only set that they built that I could tell. They didn't spend a lot on it.
No, initially I thought, oh, it's quite moody because it's already dark and it's lit just by the lights, the little bleepy bloopy lights. But after a while, I just thought, no, they're just filming this in a bloody shed, aren't they? And they keep pressing like buttons from a what looks like an early Apple or Sinclair Spectrum computer, and this is 1991. This is not the beginning of the computer age. This is, computer's been knocking around for about 10, 12 years. Shoddy. The plot, I didn't understand right from the beginning. So it starts with Jesse Ventura, and he's doing some monologue over as a voiceover. I missed one or two words, and then that was it. I didn't know what he was talking about, and it's dark and shadowy. You can't really see anything, and he's like, there are things exploding, and he's running around and he's chasing this guy, and it's at night and it's in the snow, it's in the woods. It's just one of these cheap films set in the woods because they couldn't afford anything else, and I just didn't understand what was going on. I did not understand what the hell was the other guy doing. Sven-Göran Eriksson, whatever his name was. He was impregnating some woman he just finds. Why was he doing it? We don't know.
Something about the anti-life equation, but I couldn't quite make it out.
What does that mean? We never find out. We never find out what the anti-life equation means. And then this is all within the first 5 minutes. This is all within 5 minutes, and then it cuts to 5 years later. It cuts to 5 years later. What happened to those 5 years? And it's just such bad storytelling. I don't know why Jesse Ventura said yes to this. Apparently,
he said yes to this, but someone else said no to this, and that no was his former Predator colleague Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, goodness me, so I'm trying to visualize what would have happened here. So maybe the entire pitch hung on Arnie being cast, and once Arnie was cast, this is Arnie just about to reach his absolute peak in the very late 80s, after he'd had a string of hits in Predator and Commando and Red Heat and all of that, and Running Man, and he's about to do this. Actually, Running Man might be later, but never mind. And maybe they thought, once Arnie's on board, we can secure multi-millions and we can turn this into a proper sci-fi film. Arnie says no and does some other forgotten film. I think it was called Terminator 2. I don't know. We'll have to find. We probably need to watch it. It's probably a bad film. And instead they get Jesse Ventura. And, I'm even a fan of Jesse Ventura, but he just doesn't rise to this occasion.
I think
what I said to you is, so imagine if they had hired Arnie, they kept Sven-Ole Thorsen, and so you've got an Austrian and a Danish man opposite each other. I think the American audience would have needed subtitles, wouldn't
they? Starring Sven-Ole Thorsen and Arnold Schwarzenegger in Incomprehensible Guardians of the Universe. I mean, if Arnie had been in this, he would have been the Oscar-winning Shakespearean actor, because everyone else was as wooden as the forest that they kept running around in.
What about the music? The music in it was all over the place, from the sexy saxophone music to the weird knockoff, the weird martial arts panpipes music. Oh. It was all over the shop. Any musical highlights for you, Jay?
Yeah, right at the end. Right at the end when it finished. No, right at the end. In what I imagine was the finale. I don't know. Things were exploding. But there was like this rock song with this guy wailing all over it. Completely inappropriate.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't match
it sounded just like Duran Duran.
It was like wrong Bon Jovi. It was, yeah. I mean, it was quite entertaining, but it didn't fit the film at all. But there were loads of scenes where like the music didn't match what was going on at all. Oh, it was just making me wanted to rip my ears off. I just want to moan here about the whoever the composer is. I can't remember his name. You can't just write music and chuck it in. You've got to match the mood of the film. I can't have two middle-aged men fighting each other when there's sexy saxophone music going on. It's not right. It makes me feel weird. Oh,
yeah, it's a different kind of fighting.
There were a few scenes where some of the lines were a bit iffy. There's a scene where Jesse Ventura is talking to the boy, and you might have to find a clip of this. Where he's talking to the boy, and Jesse Ventura is basically, it's not as bad as it sounds, but it kind of was bad at the time. He's half naked in bed, and the boy's in his room. The boy's in his room.
Hello. I suppose you're not tired. Do you want to sit up here with me? I'll tell you a story.
Every single line sounded like a sexual innuendo. I just thought, oh no, where's this going? This film. And then probably there was sexy saxophone music. Oh God. Abraxas. A saxus. The saxophonus in the Abraxas.
Well, how about this little... I couldn't tell whether they were playing this for laughs or not, but both Abraxas and Secundus have a little wristwatchy thing, which they call their answer box. Abraxas does a bit of exposition in the car and says,
"So what makes you think you can locate my 4x4?
My box says VD, trust me.
Your what?
VD, vibrational detection.
And he kept saying VD, but I couldn't... It wasn't delivered well enough where I could tell... Do they know what
VD.
that it sounds like VD? I couldn't work it out at all.
That's definitely what you want from your sci-fi fantasy action film. A middle-aged man continuing to shout the phrase "Reedy, Reedy." That's what you want from your film. Oh, Jesse Ventura. I think this is probably the nadir. This is what he should have been called, Nadir, Guardian of the Universe. This is the absolute low point of his career. I can't. This is one of these films where I literally cannot believe it got made. It's so bad. So Damien Lee, the writer-director, who said yes? Well, obviously, loads of people did because there's people in it and it got made. But oh, it's so bad.
Secundus kept referring to the female lead Sonia as the birthing member. Are you the birthing member? You are the birthing member.
The woman. Now,
yeah.
She really, really was terrible. She really was terrible. She's the third lead in the film. She's the mother of the boy. The boy, by the way, says nothing throughout the whole film. And even if he had, I wouldn't have been listening because I zoned out halfway through. But she is awful. Now, there's this one really weird scene. Where
just one?
There's one particularly weird scene where she's having an interview sort of thing with this actor. Now, do you remember the scene I'm talking about, Gary?
No. Don't remember this. An interview with an actor? Okay. There were actors on this film. That's news to me.
Well, she's in this office and she's talking to a guy, and that guy is Jim Belushi. Do you remember that?
Oh, right. Sorry, when you said actor, I thought you meant like that was the guy's job in the film, but you mean an actual actor. Right, okay. Yeah.
I do.
So, yeah, then suddenly she's talking to Jim Belushi, who turns up, does this one thing, blah, 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 and then he's gone.
Well, have you tried anything with him to get him to speak? I know here, when students are not paying attention or pretending they don't hear me.
But you told me apparently that was her husband at the time. Is that correct?
Yep, they were married, and therefore I assumed, the director leant on him and said, well, leapt on her and say, "Can you bring your husband along? Just so we can put some star power into our film."
Yeah, well,
But but then they got Jim Belushi instead.
Yeah, his star power was to become a black hole. Yeah, he's got some weird lines in it as well, and I remember thinking when it cut, oh my god, what was that scene with those two talking? Yeah, she was awful, and every scene she's in, she sort of sucks the atmosphere out.
Yeah, I think she could be the worst thing in the film, and because she's in a lot of it, she's a bit sort of, well, she just sucks the joy out of the room.
Yeah, she really does. Yeah, it's incomprehensible. It's terrible acting, terrible music, terrible story. I think this could be one of the worst films we've ever watched, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing going on. That is the biggest problem. There's nothing happening.
Let's think about some good things, okay? When it first started, I thought, oh look, Gary. I think I even said to you, look, it looks quite nice. Look, that shot of those two weird guys in the in extraterrestrial headquarters room with all the bleeping lights. It kind of shot quite nicely, isn't it? Like the cinematographer seems to be really trying hard in this film. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, certainly at the beginning, in that sort of echo-based Hoth scene, there was motion in the camera. It was dark, interesting lighting, and a couple of other shots. They pick interesting angles. The guy's got to work with an awful lot of white snow, and he pulls it off. Generally, cinematography pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of shots where you could tell there's a big white light behind a door or a window, a little bit of dry ice, a bit of atmosphere. I mean, that kept happening, and by the end of it, I thought, why is every room in shadow with a bit of dry ice everywhere? It looks like some sort of 80s pop concert. The scenery looked very nice. Canada looked very nice.
Thornbury, Ontario.
Yeah, which I thought was a made-up place, but actually is a real place.
Yeah, well, turns out that's exactly where they filmed it. So they're usually sort of a little bit masked or obscure about where they are, but you see them on the side of the policemen's cars. It just says Thornbury PD.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, TVGuide.com says a more accurate title for this film would be Abraxas, Guardian of Thornbury. Because the intergalactic mayhem seldom oversteps the border of that one snowy town, which is bloody true. I said it reminded me of Masters of the Universe, the 1987 film, which I have a soft spot for, but where you think it's going to be this amazing sci-fi fantasy film set on a foreign planet, and there's going to be like magic and lasers and stuff, but it just ends up being in bog standard old 80s America, and is a bit of a missed opportunity. And this film takes that one step further, where it basically is 99% in a village in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. I think, as I said to you, this film either needs a lot more money or a lot less money, because there's a couple of visual effects they use that are okay for the time. Well, not even for the time. Same year as Terminator 2. But if they had less money, then they have to be more creative. A little bit more money, they could have spent it on anything. I don't know, a set.
Yeah. Do you know what I've just realised, Gary? I've just realised that the whole story takes place around Christmas.
Oh yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? You see a couple of Christmas trees, and that's about it. But it does mean there's no reason this shouldn't enter hard rotation as much as Muppets Christmas Carol, Elf, or It's a Wonderful Life.
Or that stupid Schwarzenegger one, Jingle All the Way.
Oh, this blows Jingle All the Way away.
Yeah, but what we have failed to notice is the virgin birth element of the film.
Holy shitballs.
It's much more layered than we thought it was, Gary. I mean, it's genius.
Oh my god, I'm going to go away and rethink my life. I see.
Yeah.
Hey, What product was mentioned and featured over and over again during the film? Can you remind me?
Yeah, I definitely remember a scene where there are two Canadian cops in a shop, yeah? And they're walking through the aisles, and on every other aisle there is Pepsi, 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 loads of Pepsi. And I even remember saying to you, the only thing I'm taking away from this film, Gary, is nothing that any of the actors are saying, but I'm just the word Pepsi. I don't know about you.
And there was another scene where they're in
Pepsi
someone's garage, and he opened a fridge, and it was just full of Pepsi. And you think, well,
yes,
it's not surprising. This stuff happens, you know. A drinks manufacturer gets the license, a nice, easy bit of advertising, bit of subliminal messaging. Pepsi, 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 wall to wall. Then we're watching the credits, and there's a special thanks section. And what does it say in the special thanks section? Thanks to the Coca-Cola Company. What? What?
Yeah, we really were confused by that, and it was probably the most entertaining part of the whole film. In fact, the credits were the most entertaining part of the film. Some of the names just made up bullshit. And then the Coca-Cola Company bit. What are you talking about? There was Pepsi everywhere. We didn't see one Coca-Cola product. What is going on?
Was it a big joke? They approached Coke. Hey, Coke, you're going to want to get on some of this Abraxas action. When we come out with Abraxas lunch boxes, when we come out with Abraxas fanny packs, Abraxas action figures, you're going to be laughing. And they didn't. And Pepsi went with it and said, well, we'll say thanks to Coke in the credits.
Oh God! Do you know what I'm surprised about? I'm surprised that they didn't do more fighting and more sort of wrestling type fighting. That would have been good if the two main guys are huge, big, bulky guys, and obviously Jesse Ventura.
Obviously Jesse knows what he's doing. Sven-Ole Thorsen is also, a big guy and surely capable of choreographing a fight scene. And yet they have a couple of clunky scuffles, mostly filmed in slow motion.
Yeah, really clunky, really shadowy. A lot of squeezing of faces. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Every now and again, there's a lot of squeezing of faces. I mean, what is that? Maybe it's because Jesse's a bit injured. Was he injured at this point? I think he probably was. But yeah, that was a missed opportunity as well. Whole missed opportunity, the whole film, basically.
Jay, can you recommend Abraxas, Guardian of the Galaxy, or whatever he was called?
Oh God, I absolutely cannot recommend this film. It is rubbish.
No, it's balderdash, and there's not even like but check out this scene on YouTube. No. The whole thing, bin it.
The best thing about this film is the title and the poster. Go and look at the poster. The poster is amazing.
If I could go and see that film, that's in the poster.
God.
Wow.
We should get them on Trey's description, because that is not the film that I got. I want to see the poster. Oh, yeah, really bad. Abraxas should be flushed down the toilet and never heard of again.
Indeed. Well, that's all we've got to say about that pile of poop. Don't go and waste your time in it. I've been Gary, and thank you to Jay.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.